Well, in October 2004, I got a surprise phone call from the actor Sam Rockwell, who people probably know from movies like Galaxy Quest and Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. And he told me that he was working on a play. He'd just been cast as Judas in a new play that was being written for the Public Theater Off-Broadway. And could I talk to him about the character of Judas? So he came over and we talked about Judas and what we knew about Judas in the Gospels. And then a couple days later, I got a call from the playwright who had gotten my name from a separate person, another church, and he had heard that I would be someone to talk to about the play that he was working on, which ended up being called The Last Days of Judas Iscariot. And so I ended up becoming the theological consultant. That's the word we came up with. There wasn't really a job description for the play, and they brought me into the Labyrinth Theater Company, who were doing this play off-Broadway at the Public Theater in New York, and it went up in February of 2005. So it's pretty amazing. I didn't know anything about the theater or actors or directing or anything, but I got a crash course, and they got a crash course in the New Testament. What I try to do is for people who are interested in the spirituality to show them why the theater is interesting, and for people who might come to it more interested in the theater or the film to show them why spirituality is interesting. So I think St. Ignatius always says you go in their door and you come out your door, meaning you can talk to someone about something that's interesting to them and sort of introduce them to something that might be new and unfamiliar. But it's funny, I tend to think that there are going to be more people who will read this book because they're interested in the theater, because I think that's something, that's our culture. I mean, pop culture, a lot of these people, even if you don't know their names, you'll recognize their faces, and just acting. I think people are, look at all the magazines that talk about actors and actors' lives. I think that's inherently fascinating for people because they're artists, and they're the kind of artists of our time, the actors. So I think people will be drawn into it for that reason, and I hope they're interested in the spirituality. The amazing thing for me was to see how spiritual their lives were already. It wasn't something I had to bring to them. These are people who had already thought very deeply about their spiritual lives, no matter who they were, if they were seekers or agnostics or believers or Catholics or Christians or Jews or Buddhists. Buddhism comes up a lot. That's a sort of popular among some of the actors. It was a popular way for them to live the life of the spirit, and I learned a lot about that. So there was one fellow who I used to talk with about Thomas Merton, the Trappist monk, who was the reason I entered the Jesuits, because I read his book first. So to be able to talk about Merton with this actor who's Buddhist was a great intersection, and it helped me really feel just close to these people. I really have a lot of affection for them.